Hello, Mark.
Hello, Arthur.
Thank you very much that you agreed to participate in our 16th Polish Conference of Solution-Focused Therapists. And this year, our main theme of the conference, or title of the conference, is In the Process of Change, in the Face of Challenges. So as you know, we are struggling with the war in our neighboring country, in Ukraine. And, you know, as Polish therapists are having more and more clients from Ukraine, from people who are coming back from the war zone. Mark, I know you worked in a variety of organizations and institutions in California. Would you say something about your main work or stream of work?
Well, now I am teaching more and less organizational work because of COVID in person. But historically, my work, I did three things. I did coaching therapy. I would go to organizations, teaching them on disaster stress management. And then I taught in graduate school. So that's kind of been my career, and I'm kind of coming to the end of my career. But the more powerful things have been things connected with disasters.
You were also presenting at many SFBTA conferences on
Yes.
critical incidents.
Yes.
Would you tell us how you understand critical incidents, and is it somehow different from traumatic incidents? Or
Oh, well, great question. Very good question. When I think of critical incidents, two things. I decided to present on it because I was worried about clinicians being in an incident when it's happening, when it's hot, what we call hot.
Yeah, sure.
There's hot incidents, warm incidents, cold incident. That's the way I view it. Hot, when it's really happening right now. Warm, it's already happened, but you're getting the after effects. Cold is after the effect. And I saw therapists mainly working with cold incidents after events had happened, some warm, but not many in hot when it's really happening at that moment. Like they're in the incident. The incident has them. They don't have it. So what I saw was, and one of my concerns is we have solution-focused maps to territories, but the territories, like in Poland right now, are changing faster than we can make maps.
Sure.
And I see that around the world. So I was trying, when I first presented, I don't remember what year it was, on critical incidents, to try to talk about what do you do in a hot situation or a warm situation, and what's helpful from my point of view in trying to be solution focused and do psychological first aid.
And when you think about the situation in the Ukraine and people coming from the war zone to Poland, would you say this is, you know, kind of critical incident, or this is beyond this?
Yeah, I would say it's a critical incident, depending on, I don't know how close you are to the border of the war, you know, and what is happening. When I think of hot, you're in the war. You're a therapist in the war. Yeah. When I've been in hot situations, I'm in the event while it's happening. I imagine if they're coming across the border, the refugees are coming, it's more warm to hot. That's my guess.
Sure. And would you have any tips or, I don't know, that's worth considered for the therapist working with refugees?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing is therapists need to do self-care. It's kind of like if you fly in a plane, they teach you, if there's an emergency, pull down your oxygen mask first before giving the oxygen mask to somebody. So I encourage the counselors, pull down your oxygen mask first and find out tip. You want to, number one, try to get control of your biology. because usually in a hot situation and warm ones, and sometimes cold, you either fight, flight, or freeze.
Sure.
But everybody freezes. And some people, when they freeze, have shame, or some people, when they fly away, they have shame. So you want to get control of your biology. And I would say get control of your breathing. And I think the quickest way would be alternative nose breathing, where you cover this nostril, exhale through it, inhale through this, exhale through this, and you breathe with your diaphragm. Now, I'm real deliberate about that because I know there's some research that shows when people are fight or frightened, the sympathetic nervous system, they breathe through the right nostril more.
Wow.
When they exhale through their left nostril, it stimulates the parasympathetic system, the calming system. So I'm very deliberate about, making sure I'm exhaling through that left side. so I can sort of calm myself, number one. And then, also looking at, self-care, biological, that would be the first thing. The second thing is, what is you tell yourself self-talk? I trained in at BFTC with Insu and Steve in 1987, but after I did a summer training program, I went and I trained with John Gottman, on mainly couples. And one of the things he found that I thought was very helpful is what you tell yourself. We'll get past this, which implies a future and a we. I care, they care. So you're trying to self-soothe. Telling yourself, we won't get past this, you don't care, I don't care, will make things worse. So what is it you tell yourself that, and what kinds of either metaphors, visually, or whatever you do to self-care and keeping yourself calm? Because if you're more upset than the people who are upset, it's harder. And I would say for therapists, usually they're not used to hot situations. They're used to warm or cold situations. So I've had several incidents where therapists came into a hot situation, got scared and ran away, which made it worse because we were relying on them. So it depends on you and knowing yourself. You may think you can handle a hot situation, but maybe you can't. And maybe you should think twice. You definitely should think twice about it. We have an organization here in Los Angeles that's now in Poland, actually. I was just reading. Their criteria for sending first responders, people to help, is experience is more important than what you know. Right. So for your psychologist counselors, I think your best thing to do would be to network with your fire departments and your police departments and their cultures, because you're going to deal with their culture. They'll be the dominant culture organizing things, and you have to have some values and commonalities.
In points, you were saying control the biology, calm down first, and then the importance of self-talk, but also experience, to have some experience.
Yeah. It really, and honestly, I love solution-focused people, but they usually don't want to be in negative things. They don't like to talk. Many are problem phobic, and they don't want to really deal with that. And no one really does, because, when you deal with negative things, that's biologically. So, but especially solution-focused culture, more so, I think that's my belief, whether it's true or not. So I think getting control of yourself that way, number one. Yeah. And then the second thing you want to do is three things. You want to look, you want to listen, and you want to link.
Look, listen, link.
Look, listen, link.
Mm-hmm.
So use your eyes. I was originally trained in Gestalt therapy. I don't know if you know what that is. Okay. And I, when I was in high school, a teenager, I went to a Catholic high school where they had nuns and priests who were Gestalt therapists.
Wow.
Very radical, very radical. And they were wonderful. They saved my life. I would have been in the Army or the Marine Corps and I'd be dead by now. They saved me. But one of the things Gestalt therapy has oftentimes is you lose your mind and come to your senses. So you want to look, see, watch people and see, is this person calm? Are they frightened? Are they flooded? Flooded meaning cortisol, adrenaline, yes. Flooded is like, oh, that's flooded, okay? So you want to look at their biology, pay attention to their biology. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, what they say, et cetera, et cetera. And you want to be calmer than them as much as possible to bring them down, so to speak. So your goal is to look and listen. So how do we know people are listening? Gottman did a wonderful experiment. He asked 3,000 wives, how do you know your husband's listening? You should ask my wife. And you know what the women said?
Nope.
He's looking at me and he's going,
I'm nodding.
yes. So what we know, eye contact, nodding, and tone. Tone is really important. So in listening, nodding and tone. And your people, Arthur, first of all, I agreed to do this because I love your team. when you visited me, it was really delightful.
We also had some critical incidents. I don't know if
I know you did. I remember that very vividly, and you got through it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I've shared that critical incident with a few people with warmth. So I think the key is this looking, listening. So nodding, tone is the key to listening. And since you are a Polish conference, my belief is people who are at this conference have lots of training. And they know solution focus. I don't even have to talk about solution focus that much because I know they know it. Solution focused people know how to listen. That usually they do. I mean, they make some errors, you know, we're human, but they really are pretty good at listening. Yeah. You know, listening for the story, and especially the last 10 years, there's been much more attention to that through microanalysis, all this other stuff that they're doing, you know. Some of it I like, some of it I don't like, but that's a political issue. So, so listening, and then the next goal is to link them. You want to link them, they're in pain, and you want to link them with pleasure. So they're in some sort of pain or they don't feel safe. That's probably the number one thing. So your goal is, how do I help this person get safe?
All right.
How do I make this person get safe? Not make them, but help them to become safe. So what your job is, if somebody comes across the border, refugee, and this is a very common thing actually, do you know what one of their most common requests are?
Warm blanket, water.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah, those kinds of things. Recently, the most common request has been lip balm. Lips get dry. The moisture, water. Yeah. So the frequent request, and I've seen this in other situations, because when you get anxious, your lips get dry and you get dry mouth. They frequently request water, but lip balm or lotion of some kind. It kind of like a. Do you have homeless people in?
Sure, we do. Of course.
Similar thing. Similar thing. They frequently want hygiene things that comfort them. They have these rituals of comforting yourself, cleaning, socks. They want comfort. So your job, if you have some lip balm or some liquid soap, or you have some comfort things like lavender for the smell, whatever it is,
Sure.
Anything like that, they where you know how to get that quickly, that's your job. So I was thinking about this, and we were talking. I said, our role is like being a very attentive, fast waiter.
All right.
We're like a waiter. I see that way. We're waiting. We are waiting, and we're trying to listen. Well, what is it they want for their menu? So that's important. And I would say also any kind of comfort food, because they want physical comfort, tactile comfort, sensory comfort. And you said earlier, I think something about blankets, which is good. Anything like, my wife makes fun of me because I'll sometimes when I sleep at night, I have a big dog pillow I put on top of me. And we know some research shows when you put pressure on the proprioceptive nervous system, it calms you.
Yes.
So we know like tapping, rocking, these kinds of behaviors calm people. Mm-hmm. So you want to link them with those things. I would say in the linking, so things with food, shelter, and for children, especially, and adults, anything connected with art. Art is very important. The most primitive language we have before verbalization is play, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. and metaphor. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sure.
We know that. That's the way the nervous system's hardwired. So you want to have art things for children, to draw, to soothe on, mindfulness art, all kinds of art, or artistic things, or play things. The number one thing humans use in trauma is singing.
Singing.
Mm-hmm. When I was in a hot race riot situation here in Los Angeles in the 90s, and while there was rioting and things were on fire, I had a group of students in a room. Mm-hmm. We were hiding in a room from the violence. And I asked them what we know as the miracle question. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, suppose a miracle happens and we get through this shit. What would be the first sign of the miracle? And there was a girl, these are high school students, and we had a tank with the army there. And the girl said, I would know a miracle occurred if we were singing a song. And when she said that, I thought of Insu. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, this is a gift. So what was my next question? I said, what song would you be singing that would tell me the miracle was starting to happen? Yeah. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. So if she comes up with a song and starts singing it the way the proposition in the question kind of gets the miracle going. Mm-hmm. So the student said, this song, popular song here called We Shall Overcome. Okay. Now, there are a couple ways when you ask the miracle, the singing, what I call the singing question. I wrote an article, it's a very short piece on this many years ago. But even when I was talking about it, I was afraid to talk about it because it wasn't Wittgenstein. Believe me, singing is more important than Wittgenstein. So, so I said, you ask us if a person, suppose a miracle happens and you start getting through this, what's the song you would sing yourself? Each person has a unique song, mm-hmm. but also a group song. So you have these Ukrainian refugees who come across the border. You ask them the singing question. My guess is they might come up collectively with the Ukrainian national anthem. Or with your Polish colleagues, you ask the singing question, and they would come up with maybe the Polish national anthem. It also could be a religious song. Frequently, sometimes it's a religious, a spiritual song, but it's a song of inspiration. So when my group sang the song, their biology change radically. When you sing, yes, your biology changes. Mm-hmm. And there's a wonderful, brilliant book called The Singing Neanderthal. It's an anthropologist, archaeologist that talks about the origins of this, that, you know, and we know this relationship between a mother and a baby. When a mother has a baby, it makes it's called motherese, and the baby goes, so they make back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And all animals do this. Birds do this. Mammals do this. Reptiles don't do this. We don't think, like snakes, lizards, they don't do that for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so art, play, sing for self-regulation and connection. In the solution focused world, we're not so much, and I don't mean to be disrespectful anyway, we don't do much with the body. Uh-huh. We talk, and we are biological creatures. We need to move, and we need to sing, and especially move. Mm-hmm. You know, the two things all humans learn first are two metaphors. All humans learn this, and I use this in my practice. Is up and forward. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All babies learn to sit up and crawl forward. All humans, if I say to you, Arthur, how can you move forward in your career? How could you move up in your career? You know what those mean in a way without me explaining.
Because these are metaphors embedded in our psychology.
Yes. They're embedded in your biology more than our psychology. Your body.
Definitely.
Yes, because your body influence, you know, and this is talked about some, you know, some philosophy-wise, a lot of solution-focused people are more Wittgenstein-oriented. I'm not. I'm Merleau-Ponty. Merleau-Ponty, who talks more about embodiment, because, and the neuroscience research shows humans are pretty irrational, and they operate in metaphor. And that's why finding the right metaphors or people's personal metaphors to move forward, move upward, or that soothe them and connect is the most important thing, I think.
Yeah. That's why I think scaling questions work really well, because it's going up and going forwards, and, you know, moving.
Yes, you're right. There's reasons why solution focus works that nobody talks about.
Okay. All right. So embodiment.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So we want to self-care. We want to look, listen, and link. Mm-hmm. Those are the important tasks that you want to do.
Okay. You also mentioned you work with the issue or the phenomenon of moral injury. Would you give us some, I don't know, tips, advice, or your experience?
Yeah, that has been a big focus. I did a presentation in Milwaukee at the American Association of Marriage Family Therapists on solution-focused approach to moral injury. It warned. Moral injury is when you do something wrong or fail to do the right situation in an ambiguous situation. It's a high-stakes situation. It's ambiguous, and you do the wrong thing or you didn't do anything. And clinicians in this situation experience moral injury or moral distress. Right. So moral injury is survivor's guilt. And frequently what happens is when people have PTSD, oftentimes the moral injury is part of it, but the clinician doesn't know that. The clinician hasn't asked about it, or it doesn't realize that the PTSD, the story, the narrative of, first of all, the shock that they're still feeling biologically, the moral injury is part of it. So I saw an Israeli soldier who was put in prison for 6 months for killing the wrong people in Gaza. And he came to see me and smoking a lot of marijuana and drinking a lot. And he had PTSD symptoms. In other words, he's hearing the tank tracks. Has the smells. So when people have PTSD, hearing and smell, the primitive parts of the brain are really lit up.
Yeah.
And he would use the marijuana to calm himself. He used lavender, but part of it was the guilt and some of the pictures of him doing the wrong things he knew in his head that lived with him. And that fuels his PTSD. Not all cases, but that can be true.
Sure.
And then part of that goes with it is this. When I saw this soldier, I got his PTSD. And clinicians sometimes don't know that, is when you listen to certain stories or you're a part of that story, you get the vicarious trauma, whether you want it or not, depending on the story.
Depending on the story, depending on empathy, imagination, things like that.
More their story. If their story is so horrifying to you,
you feel
and you're not used to being around that, you're going to freak out. Because if you're a trainer in EBTA and that's all you're doing, and your map is not the territory of Ukraine and Poland on the front lines, you're going to be blown out of the water. Because it's going to be, it's not something you're used to. Let me give you an example. I was in a shooting situation at a work site. We had an ex-employee come back, shoot 7 people and take a hostage in the building I was in. I was there while it was happening. So I'm in the room with, maybe a dozen employees. And I asked them this question. How do you want to best spend our time here? We know the shooter's in the building. We don't know if he's going to come in here. How do you want to use the time? Very like, and then I went to the miracle question. I suppose a miracle happened and we get through this in this room. What would be the sign the miracle would be? And I was shocked what people said, because this was an engineering company. Most of this people said, I know miracle occurring if we were praying. And you see this sometimes in these situations. Even people who aren't religious or spiritual, they will confess or talk about, their brother or their sister or someone they love and they never told them, or they should have told them, or they want to soothe themselves through prayer, singing, or some other thing. So that's what we did. We waited for the shooter to show up. Then we barricaded the door to make sure that shooter couldn't come in, but we weren't sure what to do because we didn't know what was going on. So very ambiguous.
Yeah.
The key is to self-soothe, stay calm, but also plan your exit.